Hi and welcome to the 5-Minute Business Boost, where you get to choose your 5-minute investment. I'm your host, Sam Hicks, and I'll be discussing topics under the headings of business development, marketing, photography, and much more. Today's episode of the 5-Minute Business Boost. Today I'm having a chat about what Canva, Boost Juice, Redballoon, and iVorey can teach us as small business owners, because I love the learnings from these bigger companies, because you know what, at the end of the day, it's really easy to focus on where they are now because, you know, we look up to them as successful businesses. You know, we see the headlines, the awards, the growth, the recognition, and the success stories. We see Canva becoming a global design platform used by millions. We see Boost Juice stores across multiple countries. We see Redballoon becoming one of Australia's most recognised gifting businesses. We see innovative businesses like iVorey, I feel a new kid on the block, but doing so well, and they're building new ways to connect people, communities and organisations and platforms. Hello. But here's the thing. Most successful businesses don't start with investors lining up the door. They may not have a polished business plan or a huge marketing budget, but they've started with an idea, a problem, a frustration. Could even be that huge belief that a lot of us have is that there must be a better way. And importantly, many of them started out in really modest, scrappy, authentic, basic ways. Canva actually started as a simple online yearbook tool called Fusion Books, built to solve one problem for school before it even became the Canva that we know today. And I love Canva. Boost Juice started from Janine Ellis's kitchen in 2000, before that at first Adelaide store and the franchising model that took it off across the country and then overseas. And Redballoon started as one-woman gift online website, and before long it grew into a major experience marketplace. So this week I've been reading about several successful Australian businesses founded by women. Now, I know they're all different, but I noticed 5 common themes that every small business owner, I think, can learn from, including myself. Number 1, they started with a problem, not a product. So I'll say that again. They started with a problem. One of the biggest mistakes I see small business owners make is becoming too focused on what they're selling. Successful founders tend to focus on the problem first. Melanie Perkins noticed that graphic design software was complicated and difficult for students to learn. Naomi Simpson saw that people were tired of buying predictable gifts and wanted more memorable experiences instead. Janine Ellis recognised that busy consumers were looking for healthier food and drink options that they could grab on the go. And the founders of iVorey, Samantha and Grace, they identified opportunities to better connect businesses, communities and people through technology and storytelling. Notice something there? Not one of them started with a product. They identified and started with a problem. So as small business owners, one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself, ourselves, is what problem am I solving? Because customers rarely buy a product. They buy a solution. And this doesn't have to be a big world-changing problem. It simply might be my locals can't find a decent coffee after 3 p.m. or tradies in my town can't easily book jobs online, or parents in my area can't get practical small group workshops at times that suit them. Number 2, that was number 1. This is number 2. They didn't wait for perfect. Now, as small business owners, we constantly do this. If you've ever been delayed by launching something because it wasn't quite ready, you're not alone. We all do it. Many business owners spend months or even years waiting for the perfect website, the perfect logo, the perfect strategy, or the perfect timing. And the reality is that perfect rarely arrives. Canva wasn't a global platform on day one. Boost Juice wasn't an international franchise network. And Redballoon wasn't a household name. All of these businesses started small and they evolved over time. The founders learned by doing. They launched, they listened, they adjusted, and they improved. And when I say they learned by doing, I mean they tested early versions, they watched what customers actually did, and they changed things fast. For a micro business, that might look like trialing a new service with 5 clients, adjusting your offer based on the words your customers use, or changing your menu or product mix when something isn't selling. So the lesson is for small business owners. Number 2 is progress beats perfection every single time, and done is often better than perfect. So number 3, they backed themselves. Every founder eventually reaches a point where nobody else can see what they see. Friends question the idea, customers don't immediately understand it, potential investors will potentially say no. The founder has 2 choices then: give up or keep going. Now, Melanie Perkins famously faced numerous investor rejections before Canva eventually secured support. Most people would have walked away after a handful of knockbacks, but she didn't. And while not every idea will become a global success, there is an important lesson there. As business owners, we need to have confidence in our vision before anybody else does. Now, that doesn't mean ignoring the feedback, people. This is about believing in your ability to learn, adapt, and improve. And sometimes the biggest difference between success and failure is simply staying in the game longer than everybody else. Backing yourself can also be really practical. Setting boundaries around your time, charging what your work is actually worth, and giving your idea enough runway to see if it works before you declare it a failure. Number 4, they adapted along the way. One of the things that these businesses have in common is that none of them followed a perfectly straight path. Markets change, technology changed, consumer expectations changed, and all these businesses changed too. The most successful businesses aren't necessarily the smartest. Usually, they're the most adaptable. I see this regularly when I'm working with small businesses. The businesses that survive are rarely the ones doing exactly the same thing they were doing 5 years ago. They're the businesses that continue to learn. They test new ideas, they embrace that new technology, they adjust their marketing, and they're looking for opportunities every single day. And importantly, they evolve without losing sight of why they exist. You can change your tactics without changing the purpose. In an Australian context, especially if you're living in rural areas, adaptability is not just a nice have. It's a survival. It's part of your toolkit. We've seen bushfires, floods, tourism swings, interest rate changes, staffing shortages, all of which can hit local businesses really hard. And those who've developed simple systems and digital channels like online ordering, remote services, regular email marketing tend to bounce back faster than those relying on one way or the only way of doing things. So adaptation really isn't just a mindset, it's systems. Things like a simple CRM, a repeatable onboarding checklist, a weekly marketing rhythm, or having cash flow review habits are small business systems that are going to give you the stability to keep evolving. Number 5, they thought bigger than their postcode. Now, this lesson really resonates with me because I spend much of my time working with regional businesses. And many business owners unconsciously place limits on themselves. They assume their market is only their town, their district, their region, their local community. And yet some of Australia's most successful businesses started in relatively modest circumstances. And this might have included a classroom observation, a kitchen bench, a spare room. God, even the garage, that's where I started. A small team, but with a big idea. Today, technology has changed the rules. You think about it. Your customers can be anywhere now. Your audience can be anywhere. We're talking not only statewide now, we're talking national, global. I mean, hello, they're everywhere. People are looking, just like you, for opportunities. So whether you're running a small business from Melbourne, Mansfield, Alexandria, Yea, Marysville, Nagambie, Wodonga, wherever, your postcode doesn't and shouldn't define your potential. Now, thinking bigger than your postcode doesn't have to mean I want to be global. For some of you, it means simply selling across Victoria online or selling throughout Australia
or adding a digital product or online course alongside your local in-person services. For others, it might mean partnering with other businesses in different regions so that you can cross-promote and share audiences. The businesses that grow, often the ones that think beyond their immediate surroundings, even if their personal goal is a lifestyle business, not an empire. So, after reading all these stories, the real common theme for me, because I don't think the common factor is money, it isn't education, connections, and isn't luck, although, come on, sometimes, Sam, luck does play part of it, can be part of the story, but I think the common factor is action. These founders saw a problem. They started, they learned, they adapted, and they kept going. When the stuff got real, they kept going. They've also built simple systems around that action, ways of marketing, serving, ways of measuring, so that every step forward wasn't a one-off effort, but part of really a repeatable way of doing business. And I think that's something that all of us can do as small business owners. You need to remind yourself you don't need millions of dollars, you don't need a huge team, you don't need to build the next Canva boost juice or Redballoon, but you do need to take some action. So, in coming to the end of this podcast, the next time you hear a success story, don't focus on where the business is today. Focus on where it started, because every successful business started as an idea that somebody decided was worth pursuing. So this week, I want you to ask 3 questions. What problem am I solving? What am I waiting for? And what is one action I can take today at the end of this podcast, end of today, people, to move my business forward? And I'd love to see you turn this into a tiny exercise. After this episode, take those 3 minutes, write one sentence that clearly answers what is the problem I'm solving, and then write down that action that you're going to take this week to test, improve, or better communicate that solution. Because every success story starts with the first step. And you know what? Your next step might be closer than you think. Have a good day. Until next time, cheerio.
Thanks for listening to the 5-Minute Business Boost. For more information, follow me on socials, sign up for my newsie, or check out my website to see how we can work together to reach your small business goals. Remember, anything is possible, especially in the northeast of Victoria. Until next time, cheerio.